recently came to the conclusion that I had every single armor set in the game. What I didn't have was the weapons. Specifically in this video, the Pebblet Spear, Spiky Sprig, and Larva Blade, also including the Sprig Bow and Brat Burst, which are the tier 1 weapons. So getting to work, I scrounged up a bunch of garbage off the floor and put it inside the resource analyzer. Upon researching the Pebblet, I was able to unlock the first weapon, the Pebblet Spear. As a side note for this challenge, hammers, axes, and shovels will not be counting as weapons. Even though you can attack with them, they are not primarily used.
Curiosity, I don't think that worked properly. It seems like the machine needs all 3 lasers to...
Climbing up the thistle, I was able to grab the valuable thistle needles, which is needed for the next weapon, that being the Spiky Sprig. Now, the Spiky Sprig is a heavier weapon that deals bleed damage upon hit. Once I helped Burgle, I was able to lightly dust his head with several bashes from the Spiky Sprig.
I am sure this
He had minor brain damage after this.
But hopefully I can...
As you talk to Burgle, you are able to unlock the biometric scanner, which grants you access to most of the labs. Also using the Spiky Sprig, I was able to get a sweet kill on this Orb Weaver. But after gathering some lily pad wax, I was able to make the next weapon, the Pebblet Dagger, which allows for underwater traversal. Once I analyzed the eelgrass, I was able to unlock the gill tube. Also, using a newly crafted acorn shovel, I gathered as much clay as I could before the mosquito spawned in. Also building grass walls to display the weapons I had gathered thus far. This is how we're looking. We have 4 out of the 6 we need. Now, following my own advice from a previous video, in this cave there is a pair of fin flops by a skeleton.
Science.
Using the fin flops and gill tube, I was then able to dig up a few sunken bones near the underwater pond lab. Once I got 4, that was enough to make a bubble helm. However, if you're a complete mad lad like I am, you can complete the whole pond lab with only a gill tube. So, unlocking the biometric scanner, I was able to open the door, which granted access to the battery control room. Flip the switch activates the puzzle, and I got a sweet kill off this Harker here. Swimming outside, I was able to flip all 3 dials, which unlocks the main door. Just gonna skip ahead over all of the pond section. If you match the keys of this computer, it unlocks the main section of the pond lab, but sadly I got hit with a fleeing backswing from this Tasty here. To kill his friend with a few back shots from my red ant club. And then I got a trick shot off this second Archer in the main pond room. Mashing the keys of this computer opens the pond lab, and I was also able to get this Burgle chip. Digging up a few defenseless creatures allowed me to craft the Larva Blade and display it on my wall. Also crafting the Weevil Shield to help with traversal. Now, so far, we have the Pebblet Dagger, the Pebblet Spear, the Larva Blade, Spiky Sprig, and Sprig Bow. However, what we don't have is one thing, the Brat Burst. Now, the Brat Burst is used for many things in this game. Opening this door in the haze, and killing defensive small creatures. Opening this cracked glass on the Java-Matic, and opening the door to the manager boss fight in the Black Ant Lab. However, to craft the bratwurst, you will need red ant eggs, which this lovely gentleman right here willingly gave over the ant eggs he was carrying. We also need fungal growth, which can be found in the haze. That's correct, Steve. I really can tell the difference as it rips mandibles through my flesh. Now, going into the haze can be an experience at its finest. You see, you'll be depressed once you see the recipe, then in denial that this is what you chose to make a video about. Next, you will bargain your spear through this larva's skull. Then you will be angry that you cannot fill your inventory with enough explosives to make Hiroshima look like a firework. I'm not sure I can say that. And finally, you will be accepting that you can now turn any bug that crosses you skin inside out with explosives. And I did this while also only dying a few times. Luckily, I was still able to grab some dried grass before I succumbed to my injuries. Funny thing is, I actually lost my ant egg due to unforeseen circumstances. And had to forcibly babysit this new ant egg from their loving family in the red ant hill. Researching it, I was then able to unlock the recipe for the bratwurst. And then the depression set in that I did not have enough fungal growth. So venturing back into the haze, I was then able to bully this small gnat, which gave me the last pieces of fungal growth that I needed, with only a few more casualties. There were minor troubles while trying to escape the haze after I had newly found my fungal growth, but we got there eventually. Forgetting that I had then set my spawn at the pond lab and forgotten to change it, I went for a small swim in the local pond until my kill tube gave out. But after finally grabbing all the resources I needed, I headed back over to the anthill, where I was then saddened that I had lost my dry grass, but was able to cut down another piece for some more dry grass chunks. Fashioning these into a homemade explosive, I only lost a few times. I finally brought it back to home base, where I was then able to display it on my wall. This is how we're looking so far. Also noticing that I didn't actually have the sprig bow, I then went to the wetlands to forcibly remove the gnat's fuzz from their bodies. Then able to craft the sprig bow. And that is all 6 Tier 1 weapons in Grounded. I'll see you in the next upload.